Hey guys, welcome back to another Flesh and Blood video. This video is proudly brought to you by the House of Cards, the official sponsor of my stream. Be sure to check out the link in the description below for all of your Flesh and Blood needs. Fai vs Bravo is a staple matchup of our current meta, and most Fais will tell you that they're favored into Bravo, and while I mostly agree with this statement, I think that there's a little bit more to it than just that. It's very easy for Bravo to string together dominated crush effects like Starstruck and Spinal Crush, which can very quickly ruin your day as FI player. Fai regularly plays cards like Sink Below and Reinforce the Line to help with those big crush effects. My current working theory in this matchup is to take out the Artivores, bring in Sink Belows, Reinforce the Lines, and try to use them as effectively as possible. I also like to hang on to my equipment as long as humanly possible to help block a dominated attack when those come up. I picked this game out for you guys because I really feel like it highlights the matchup in a positive way. You really get to see Bravo throw some big dominated attacks, and you really get to see what some punishing hands for Fai can look like in this game. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I hope you enjoyed the match. Ooh, activate Bravo on turn 0 is very scary. I mean, it could be worse than Crippling Crush. It could be worse than Crippling Crush. Crippling Crush is like, don't get me wrong, he gets to push through 8 points of damage here, but like Starstruck and or Spinal Crush would have been absolutely back-breaking for us right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and lead on Kodachi. The value that our opponent got from going first is pretty good because we basically just started the game at 32 this way. So we're going to go Brand. Brand for 3. I would be kind of surprised if they didn't block here. I like that they blocked this way. Feels like a pretty good setup for us. We're going to go ahead and throw the Kodachi. We're going to activate Fai to get our Phoenix Flame back. Coming in for 1 here. Our opponent might consider blocking again here as well. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm going to go ahead and throw the Lava Vein Loyalty for 2. They'll probably just give equipment if they want to keep all of their cards here. I'm not really sure what they have. And then at this point, I'm going to stay on the train of I don't want to be arsenaling if I don't have to, so I'm just going to go ahead and attack for 3. Just push some damage here against our opponent. They'll go to 34, and then they're going to probably swing the hammer for 6 here. Oh, they're looking to play a Showtime here. Okay. And they get a Starstruck, which is pretty good for them. So we have Kodachi, Brand, Kodachi, Bittering Thorns. I actually really like going Kodachi, Bittering Thorn. No, we'll have to go... So let's think about this here. We actually can't throw the second Kodachi if we're going to activate Fai, which is important because of the Shuko trigger. So we're going to go... We're going to go Brand for 1 here to start with. I think attacking for 1 here to start with is a pretty decent play because what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the Bittering Thorns next. I know that normally the idea of throwing Bittering Thorns on Chain Link 3 to like be able to threaten Mask is pretty good, but it also gives our opponent the ability to be able to it actually gives our opponent the ability to use a card like Sink Below to be able to block our 1 for 4, and a lot of times you would rather be able to use a 0 for 1 or a 0 for 2 to be able to threaten Mask if at all possible. So considering how that chain turned out, I should have led on the Bittering Thorn and got the Sink Below out, and then I could have threatened Mask right there on Chain Link 2. So that was actually a mistake on my part. So considering the way this hand worked out, we're probably just going to, since they're going to dominate here, we're going to be forced to give a card from hand and Sink Below. And we can take 3 here, and that'll be a perfectly fine turn. So the Stab Wound here will actually, if we keep the Stab Wound over the Salta Wound here, we'll actually be able to go Kodachi, Kodachi, Ronin Renegade, Blaze Headlong. To be able to, if they block the second Chain Link, we can threaten Mask twice here, actually. I'm not going to sink anything. I actually like our hand. Our hand's not too bad right here. So we're going to take 3 and fall down to 29. Now, something to be aware of if we do draw into a sink below is the fact that we haven't seen a Command and Conquer yet, and we're like 2 or 3 turns into the game here. So just something to be aware of. I'm going to lead off with a Kodachi here. And then I'm actually going to throw Ronin Renegade for 3 right here. So since our opponent gives the sink below here, I thought they were just going to take 3. So our opponent takes or throws the sink below there to block that up. We throw Kodachi. Now our opponent's probably going to feel bad here because they did give up a point off of their sink below that they could have had from our Blaze Headlong here. Now our opponent had no way of knowing that. But I also understand that they're trying to play around probably cards like Ancestral Empowerment in that spot. And then we're going to come in for 1 with the Phoenix Flame here. And then depending on what our opponent's hand looks like, I was like, they might just give us the Quicken token. They give us the Quicken token at the end of our turn, which I think is pretty interesting. I'm going to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of that. So let's block with the Soulbead Strike and hope we keep one of our reds. We can't really block the effect here. The fact that we kept our stab wound is extremely unfortunate for us. So I guess we're just going to be looking to arsenal this card and pass here. Another dominated Bravo turn. Spinal Crush being very good. We could give up Shuko here if we wanted to stop this. So it's not a bad thought to think that we could go Empowerment. So if we block the Empowerment, we have a pretty decent turn. So we block Empowerment, Furnace, and Shuko. We get to take 2, go to 19. And then the problem is we only have 3 points of equipment block left at this point. And then we have Kodachi, Mounting Anger, Ravenous Rabble, and Stab Wound, which is honestly not bad. I hate giving up the Empowerment here, but I think it's the correct play to keep the blue to push more points. Now, we're not going to get any value out of the Quicken token, but I mean, that's okay. It is what it is. So we'll go Kodachi. They're going to give us the Quicken token again. I was like, interesting. I mean, if we had a Snatch, it's pretty obvious that we would lead on the Snatch here. So I was like, I can't really blame them for blocking with the Quicken, with the Civic Steps at this point in time. It's not a bad block. I am going to go ahead. I think we're just going to go ahead and throw the Stab Wound here. Since we can do that with Go Again. I actually don't dislike this play here. So we throw the Stab Wound for 2. On hit, they lose a life. This is pretty quick that they'll just give a piece of equipment if their hand's good enough, or if it's not, they'll just block with a card from hand. They might just be okay to take 3 here, and they are. Interesting. Honestly, would not have picked them to take 3 here. Their hand must be pretty solid. So because we have not seen a single Command and Conquer yet, at this point in time, I'm just going to go ahead and throw the Ravenous Rabble. Plus, it plays into our game plan that Bravo plays a lot of cards that can disrupt us arsenaling and trying to set up a 5-card hand. So we'll just go ahead and play the Rabble here. It is for 4, which is pretty convenient. So if our opponent wants to keep their hand, they're going to have to at least go to 16 here to be able to keep their cards. 3 dominates in a row. The Starstruck is pretty backbreaking. I mean, if I block... So I have a pretty decent turn here, actually. If I give Momentum, Furnace, and the Sink Below, I'm actually able to go Kodachi, Mounting Anger, followed by a Snatch, which is going to get multiple cards out of our opponent's hand, especially when they've already given us 2 Sink Belows. So the concept of giving up Mask and Momentum in this matchup is not great. Mask is more to pressure than it is to actually, like, you know, try to draw cards off of. But if the game lines up in a way where you are able to draw cards, then that's it. That's a win in itself. You just kind of have to be prepared to take the victories where they come. The problem here is that we don't have any more equipment block left, which can be a real problem as far as everything's concerned here. I'm very surprised that they gave up Crater Fist right there on my Kodachi. I'm actually extremely surprised that they went that route. Don't really understand. Like, there's no mask here. Maybe my opponent forgot. We are a little over halfway through our deck, and we actually haven't seen a Reinforced line. So we have 1 Sink Below and 2 and 3 Reinforced lines left in our deck, which is pretty solid. So if our opponent's going to cover up our Snatch here, they're going to have to give us 2 cards or a defense reaction because of all the equipment they've used so far. So being able to like arsenal another Snatch here is really good. Terra Sunder Hammer is definitely a problem. Kodachi, so if I take 7 and go to 9, I can discard the Lava Burst and the Blaze Headlong and go Kodachi. Go Kodachi. I'll tell our opponent we're thinking here. Ronin Renegade into Snatch, which is a pretty good turn. Alternatively, I could block for 3. I could block 3 with the Warmongers, discard Blaze Headlong and Lava Burst, throw Ronin Renegade and Snatch. So that actually keeps me at 12, and I get to throw 7 here. So it's only an 11-point turn if I do. It's a 10-point turn here if I do that. But the Terra Sunder is pretty good. Terra Sunder is putting us in a pretty awkward spot. So I think we're supposed to just go to 9 here and take the little bit of a less offensive power option. But I think we're still in an okay spot here. Terra Sunder is a very good card, especially in that spot. We're also at a point in the game where we have good defensive cards left in our deck. We just haven't seen any of them yet, which is kind of unfortunate because it makes me think that we're going to see multiple of them in one hand, which is really not what we're looking to do. We're just hoping to find some defensive options here. We could have taken a more offensive approach there, but this hand allows us to stay ahead of Bravo and get 2 cards out of their hand, which is pretty good. From their hand on top of their deck. So if I block 3, it's Kodachi, Blaze, Arsenal, the Snatch. Actually, am I looking at... I can go to 10 here, and then I can just go Kodachi, Snatch, and see what they do, because they've pitched. I think that's the second unmovable they've pitched so far. So we're in not a bad spot right here. And plus, I don't really want to take 5 and go to 7. I don't have to go to 7 here, so I don't really want to. I guess they wanted me to block here with the Boulder Drop, because I'd have to put a card from my hand on top of my deck. I could have went to 7, went Kodachi, Snatch, and then if they let the Snatch hit, then we draw into the Salt and Wound, but I don't really think that's where I want to be. I think we're just trying to keep our life total as high as possible while trying to take cards out of their hand, and we're drawing cards in hands that do take cards out of their hand, and our opponent is now at 10. One more Kodachi and we'll actually have them in a single-digit life total spot, which is pretty good for us. We're really hoping that they have to give up 2 cards right here. They've only seen 2 D-reacts, so they could have an unmovable. They could have a lot of things here. And I think I'm just okay arsenaling to Blaze Headlong and trying to have a big turn here to try and end the game. I don't really want to throw my Snatch to use my Snaps to throw my Blaze Headlong. We haven't seen an E-Strike yet. I was like, there's a lot of cards here we could draw into. I think now I'm okay with putting my Phoenix Flame on the bottom of my deck, actually. This is a go to 4 kind of hand. This is 100% a go to 4 kind of hand. I'm going to go to 4 here, and then I have 3, 3, 4, hopefully 4. I'm actually going to throw the Ravenous Rabble after the Brand here. We're going to get back our Phoenix Flame and then come in for 7. Which should be enough to take them off of tempo pretty quickly here. We could alternatively go for Snap's draw card to try and get a little bit more aggressive, but we'll see what their life total is looking like, and how much pressure we've really put them under since they are at 10. They're probably going to block with at least a couple of cards here. We're hoping to maybe try and get a couple, like, I'm hoping to get 3 cards out of their hand. They're at 10, so they have quite a bit of life to give, but I'm really hoping to get 3 cards out of their hand. If they give us 3 cards and only have 1 card in their hand, we're in a pretty good spot here going into... Now, we're not going to make anything cost less. There's absolutely no reason to. So we're going to come in for 3 go again. We're going to need... We're going to need Rabble to be for 4 here. Okay. Man, back-to-back Rabbles that have hit for 4. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. Plays Headlong for 4. Our opponent gives a card and goes to 5. Activate Fai. Now, if we come in for 7, our opponent blocks 3 and takes 4. So they're going to fall to 1. But if we go draw a card, they block 3, take 2, go to 3. And if we draw a 0 coster, they're just dead on the spot. But we have a lot of 1-costers here. I think just pushing through as much damage as possible is our best play here. Because if they have like a Rouse the Ancients in their hand, they're just dead. I don't know what they could have had in their hand right there that didn't block. I don't know many Bravo cards that don't block, but I mean, considering I'm at 4, it could have been a blue Fiendl's Fighting Spirit. They don't gain the life and they just take 5 there, so pushing for damage actually worked out. You notice that my opponent starts off the game by activating Bravo, which is an extremely scary thing. Spinal Crush or a Starstruck on turn 0 are absolutely terrifying and can ruin my day as a 5 player. But my opponent throws the Crippling Crush, which is still pretty good because it pushes through 8 points of damage for them, but really not that big of a deal for me because it's just damage and I get to reset my hand. On turns 3, 4, and 5, my opponent threw dominated big attacks like Starstruck, Crippling Crush, and Spinal Crush. Now, the Starstruck we're able to cover up with Salt the Wound and Sink Below on turn 3. Turn 4, we actually just take some damage from the Crippling Crush. And then on turn 5, I'm actually forced to give my equipment. I give Flamescale Furnace and Tiger Stripe Shuko and a 3-block from hand to be able to stop this effect to continue to keep my hand. This is a little concerning because giving up your equipment on turn 5 in what is probably going to be a very long game is pretty scary and can put you in a bad spot quick. The real turning point in this game for me is the turn when our opponent just played Boulder Drop. All they did was play Boulder Drop, we block with Salt the Wound, play our hand, and then our opponent throws Hammer for 6. This enables us to keep every single card in our hand with our opponent in 10 and do our very best to kill them. And E-Strike actually ends up closing out the game there. It always feels really nice to win games like this because they're super close, and it's nice to know that my patience and my blocking is rewarded over the course of the game. Also, we're like 1 turn away from this game going downhill and me not being able to get back into it at all. If you guys see a better line or something I should have done differently, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear about it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy, guys.